In the high-altitude city of Sovera, the wind didn't just carry the scent of ozone and snow, it carried the echo. The echo was a low, constant hum that radiated from the great tuning fork, a massive spire of singing steel that pierced the clouds in the city's central plaza. It was the collective, correct, thought of the hour. If the fork hummed in a low B-flat, the citizens felt a heavy, industrious somberness. If it vibrated in a bright D major, the markets were flooded with a sudden, artificial cheer. To think outside the frequency of the echo was more than just an eccentricity, it was dissonance, a social crime that led to public shaming and, eventually, the quiet room, where a person was retuned until they hummed in harmony again. The weaver of silences, Lyra was a master weaver, responsible for repairing the sensory tapestries that lined the echo chambers. While her neighbors hummed the daily anthem, a melody of unity through uniformity, Lyra wore heavy, lead-lined earflaps hidden beneath her silk headscarf. She had discovered that in the absolute silence of her inner mind, she could hear something the others had forgotten, the rhythmic, syncopated beat of her own heart. It didn't follow the fork. It sped up when she saw a sunset, it slowed when she read forbidden poetry. It was hers, and hers alone. One morning, the tuning fork struck a sharp, jagged, dissonant tone. The echo dictated a new frequency, suspicion. The hum told the citizens that the outlanders, the nomadic traders who had brought salt, silk, and stories to Sovera for generations, were actually spies sent to steal the city's thermal core. Within an hour, the city was a hive of hostility. Neighbors who had traded recipes with outlanders just yesterday were now bartering for heavy iron locks. The collective mind had decided they were enemies, and so, to the citizens of Sovera, they became monsters. The dissonant truth, Lyra watched from her balcony as a young outlander boy, no older than 10, was turned away from the communal well. The echo was screaming, danger, in every citizen's ear, a vibration so physical it made their teeth ache. But Lyra took off her earflaps. She stepped into the street and looked at the boy, not through the lens of the frequency, but with her own eyes. He was shivering, his boots worn to the soles. He didn't look like a spy, he looked like a child who was thirsty. "Why are you helping him?" a neighbor hissed, clutching a heavy stone. His eyes were glazed, vibrating with the rhythm of the fork. "The echo says they are siphoning our life. Can't you hear the warning? Can't you feel the truth?" "I hear a noise," Lyra replied, her voice steady and clear, cutting through the hum like a bell. "But I see a person. The noise is coming from a piece of metal in the square. The person is standing right in front of me. If I have to choose between a vibration and my own eyes, I choose my eyes." The neighbor recoiled as if Lyra had struck him. To the echo bound, a private thought was a terrifying, chaotic void. The trial of the fork. Lyra was arrested and brought before the High Harmonizer. The courtroom was a parabolic chamber designed to amplify the echo until it felt like a crushing weight on the lungs. "You have been found in a state of chronic dissonance," the Harmonizer intoned, his voice perfectly synced to the aggressive hum of the fork. "You refuse to join the chorus. You think your singular, tiny mind knows better than the great resonance of the people. Why do you insist on being separate? Why do you fight the peace of the group?" Lyra looked at the massive tuning fork vibrating behind him, a cold, unfeeling monument to consensus. "The chorus is peaceful because it is a cemetery," she said. "When the fork tells you to hate, you hate. When it tells you to fear, you fear. You have traded your soul for a melody you didn't write. You aren't thinking at all. You are just vibrating in someone else's jar. If the fork were to strike a note of self-destruction tomorrow, would you all walk off the cliffs in perfect, smiling harmony?" The room went silent. For the first time in centuries, the echo faltered because someone had refused to reflect it. "I am not separate because I want to be lonely," Lyra continued, stepping toward the Harmonizer. "I am separate because I want to be real. 1,000 people believing a lie doesn't make it the truth. It just makes for a very loud, very dangerous lie. Truth doesn't need a tuning fork to exist. It just is." In the coastal city of Aethelgard, the buildings weren't made of dead stone or cold steel. They were grown from a living substance called empathic coral. This coral didn't just provide shelter, it acted as a biological mirror for the souls of its inhabitants. If a household was filled with laughter and genuine peace, the walls glowed a soft, translucent amber, emitting a scent like sun-warmed honey. But if a family descended into bitterness, the coral turned a jagged, bruised purple. If there was unchecked rage, the walls grew serrated thorns and bled a dark, staining crimson that could never be washed away. The city was a masterpiece of beauty, but it was physically volatile. The tides of the Great Bay were controlled by the Resonator, a massive sapphire spire in the harbor that reacted to the collective emotional state of the 50,000 citizens. A single afternoon of widespread panic could trigger a tidal wave. A week of collective mourning could cause the temperature to drop until the pipes cracked with frost. The guardian of the still water. Soren was a still watcher, a member of an ancient order trained from the age of 5 to maintain a state of perfect internal neutrality. In a city where everyone's feelings were literally written on the walls for all to see, Soren's monastery was a rare, milky white, perfectly calm, perfectly clear, and as smooth as polished bone. The citizens often came to Soren when their own homes became too dangerous to inhabit. "My walls are closing in on me," a merchant cried one morning, his skin pale and his hands shaking. "The coral has grown 6-inch spikes because my business partner betrayed me. I cannot sleep without being cut by my own bedroom walls." Soren led the man to the center of the monastery, where a deep, black pool of water sat perfectly motionless. "Look at the surface," Soren said. He picked up a small, jagged pebble and dropped it. The ripples moved outward, distorting the reflection of the sky. The water reacted. It had to. It is the nature of water to ripple when struck. "Then I am doomed to be a ripple," the merchant groaned. "No," Soren said, his voice as steady as a mountain. "Does the water become the stone? Does it stay a ripple forever? Look again." The merchant watched as the water smoothed itself out, returning to a perfect, silent mirror. "The secret to mastery in Aethelgard," Soren whispered, "is not stopping the stone from hitting the water. You cannot control the betrayal of a partner or the storms of the sea. Mastery is knowing that you are the depth of the pool, not the ripple on the surface. The surface may be chaotic, but the depths are always still." The storm of the Discord spheres. The true test came during the year of the red tide. An armada of silent conquerors appeared on the horizon. They didn't fire cannons or launch arrows. Instead, they deployed Discord spheres, obsidian devices that hummed at a frequency designed to amplify every latent frustration, every secret jealousy, and every spark of fear within the city. Within hours, Aethelgard began to self-destruct. The coral walls of the city grew into massive, serrated spears that blocked the streets. The harbor water began to boil, turning a violent, frothing red. The Great Resonator in the harbor began to pulse with a terrifying, rhythmic throb, pulling a massive, 100-foot wall of water toward the city gates. "We must strike back," the High General screamed, his own armor turning a jagged, angry orange. "We must feed the Resonator our fury so we can crush their ships." Soren stood alone in the center of the great plaza. He didn't pick up a sword. He didn't join the shouting match. He simply sat down on the vibrating stone and closed his eyes. The anchor in the chaos. As the Discord spheres hummed, Soren felt the waves of collective rage washing over him like a physical heat. He felt the stone of the invasion hitting his soul. His own heart wanted to race, his lungs wanted to tighten. He didn't suppress the feeling. To suppress is to create a pressure cooker. Instead, he observed it. "I feel the heat of anger. I feel the cold of fear." He watched the emotions as if they were clouds passing across a vast, unmoving sky. He dropped his awareness into the deep stillness, the part of the human spirit that exists below the chemical surges of the brain. He became a biological anchor. His coral home, situated right behind him, began to glow with a light so white and so pure it looked like a fallen star. The effect was hypnotic. As the panicked citizens saw Soren sitting unshaken while the world literally bled red around him, their own heart rates began to slow. They realized they didn't have to be the puppets of the Discord spheres. One by one, they sat. They stopped hitting the walls. They stopped feeding the fire. The Great Resonator, sensing the shift from chaotic rage to focused, intentional calm, ceased its throbbing. The massive tidal wave, which had been seconds from erasing the city, simply lost its energy and collapsed back into the bay with a peaceful sigh. The invaders, seeing a city that could not be moved by their emotional warfare, realized they had no weapon left. You cannot conquer a person who has already conquered their own reactions. The anatomy of emotional mastery. Your life is Aethelgard. When a boss yells, a partner leaves, or a project fails, a Discord sphere has been activated in your environment. Most people are reactors. When the world turns red, they turn red. They let the external stone dictate the internal state. But the master is an observer. They understand that between the stimulus and the response, there is a golden window of time. In that window lies your entire destiny. If you react, you are a slave. If you respond from stillness, you are a king. He who angers you, conquers you. He who calms you, leads you. But he who remains calm regardless of the world, owns the world. Your emotions are beautiful colors, but they should not be the ones holding the brush. If you don't learn to sit in your deep stillness, the world will play you like a cheap fiddle. Here's your training to become a still watcher. The sacred pause. The next time you feel a surge, be it anger, panic, or deep hurt, force yourself to count to 10. In those 10 seconds, the amygdala, the brain's alarm, settles, and the prefrontal cortex, the seat of wisdom, comes online. Do not speak until the 10 seconds are up. Label the feeling. Instead of saying, I am sad, say, I am noticing a feeling of sadness. This tiny linguistic shift reminds you that you are the observer of the emotion, not the emotion itself. The sadness is a cloud, you are the sky. The coral, reflection. Throughout the day, ask yourself, if my physical environment changed color based on my current mood, would I be proud of the room I'm standing in? If the answer is no, take 3 deep breaths and return to the white light of the center. The world will always throw stones into your pool. Your job isn't to stop the stones, but to remember that you are the depth of the water. Master your reactions, and you will become the most powerful force in any room.